Not long after I uploaded my last video where I talked about the shotguns and whether or not I thought they were too strong or not, go check that video out if you haven't by the way, Infinity Ward sent out a patch with some surprising weapon balancing notes that I honestly didn't expect. With it, we saw a buff to the base model 680 in a few ways, a nerf to 3 different barrels for the shotguns, and a buff to the Underbarrel shotgun, which was actually pretty darn massive. Now, there are other changes, but I don't really want to delve into everything about this patch, and as a shotgun guy, I felt like I had to address these changes in particular, especially since they affect my favorite gun of the game. First off, we'll start with the base model 680, and the base model got a one-shot kill range increase that took it from about 11 meters up to 14 meters. Now, considering this is the base barrel, that's a pretty nice increase, and while I don't think it was really necessary, it's nice to see the model get some love overall. The sport barrel for the Model 680 also got a nice buff, with a one-shot kill range buff that takes it up from 14 meters to 17 meters. It's a nice buff up, and as a fun fact, I kitted it out for range with the sport barrel and the Marauder suppressor, and that took my one-shot kill range up to 20 meters. And that is an amazing one-shot kill range, and it's also the highest one-shot kill range for the shotgun in the game currently, besides slugs of course. And yes, this includes the dreaded infamous 725 shotgun, which was only getting up to 18 meters with its attachments. So if you're looking for the best one-shot capability at range for shotguns, try the sport barrel on the 680 with the Marauder suppressor equipped. Also, they didn't really mention it in the notes, but the swap barrel, which is the small baby barrel, also got a little bit of a buff to its one-shot range, with it being about 12 meters now. Now, it's not a huge improvement, and I still think it's not the best way to run the gun, but it is more usable after this patch. Up next, the Liberator barrel is a bit strange. So the patch notes say that it got a slight nerf to its damage range, but it looks like it actually got a small buff. So previously the one shot was about 14 meters or so, and after this patch, it got bumped up to about 16 meters. Now what I think happened here was that they toned down the bonus damage range multiplier you get from the Liberator barrel as a whole, and since they buffed the base damage of the Model 680, it also indirectly kind of buffed the Liberator barrel. Now I see why they did this as well, because previously the difference between the Liberator and the Sport barrel in terms of one-shot kill range was really so small that there was no real big advantage to using the Sport in my opinion, especially since the aim down sights time for the Sport was way slower than the Liberator as well. Before I get into the other guns, I wanted to go ahead and show you guys how all of the barrels and suppressors and the choke affect the Model 680 after this last patch, because sometimes Infinity Ward likes to change things without really saying them in the patch notes. The choke doesn't really do that much for many of the barrels now it seems, extending one-shot kill ranges by usually a meter, and the monolithic suppressor, which is actually a new attachment for the 680, does basically the same thing in terms of one-shot kill potential, except it suppresses your sound. Now it's not incredibly useful, but it does kind of help. Now I prefer the massive boom of the Model 680 much to my detriment, so if I was going to use one of these two, I'd use the choke. Now the Marauder gives us about 2 meters more on most barrels, with the exception of the swap barrel and the sport barrel, which is 3 meters better, which means if you want the highest one-shot kill range, the Marauder is now the option to go for that. Now previously the choke and Marauder didn't really have much of a difference, so it seems like whatever they did after this patch made the Marauder a much more attractive choice for long one-shot kills. Moving on to the other shotguns, the R9O apparently got an adjustment on its damage range, and it's pretty much exactly the same, so I would just disregard that honestly. I couldn't find any difference whatsoever. The Precision barrel on the Origin 12 apparently also got a slight nerf to its range, but the one-shot kill range was basically ineffective. Now I didn't test it for this in particular, but I'd be willing to bet that they toned down the overall effective range for these guns so that they aren't quite as deadly in hardcore modes, but I could be wrong. It's not something I previously tested for since I don't play hardcore much, but it's possible you may not get a hit as far as you usually do with these barrels, but that's just a theory. We did also get some tuning for the attachment's aim down sight speeds, and with it the Precision, Tac Sentry, and Liberator barrels all got a nerf of basically 1 frame across the board, so here are the numbers for that. Overall, not a terrible nerf, but after using the Liberator for so long, I do notice it feels just ever so slightly slower, but obviously it's still great. Now, I'm going to try and use the Sport barrel a bit more often to see how it fares at long range, and play a bit more methodical now to compensate for that slower aim down sights time, and it is much slower, so be warned, and try to use no stock with the XRK grip for those helpful aim down sights boosts. The last thing I wanted to cover was the Underbarrel shotgun attachment, or the Deputy shotgun attachment for the assault rifles, which got a huge buff to its one-shot kill range and consistency overall, with a one-shot kill range now of about 10 meters, which is really awesome actually, and this is a huge buff from where it used to be, and it feels really good now. If you haven't tried it, go ahead and give it a shot and see how it fares. I plan on making a video about this attachment separately, but just know that it's really fun and it's a great attachment now overall, and it's stronger than you would think it would be. This is largely due to the fact that the pellet spread count went up to 8 pellets now, so that really helps with the consistency on this attachment. And that will just about cover everything I wanted to cover shotgun-wise in this new patch. Now, it was kind of an unsuspected tuning patch for the shotguns, but overall, I think it went pretty well. Now, the difference between the Sport and Liberator barrels for the Model 680 are a bit more defined now, and I like that I have more of a decision to make rather than always opting for just the Liberator barrel now. Nothing else changed besides that, and the Deputy or Master Key attachment, that was also really good, but a decent update overall. And if you were able to find any weird inconsistencies from this update, let me know in the comments below. I know there is a reload bug, and it's also sort of an infinite ammo bug with the slugs on the 680, so if it isn't addressed today in this playlist update, which today is Friday, I will probably make a video on it. And with all that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day/night, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.